Hello and welcome to my video channel all about gua sha. So in this episode I'm going to explain to you about how gua sha treats nausea. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Come and say hi to me on social networks. If you're on Facebook, come over, the link's in my description. If you're on Instagram, come and say hi. And if you ever want to study any of this stuff, then I'm waiting for you in the Komorebi Institute. Again, all of the links are in the description. So nausea is something we all have at various times in our lives. Some people have it more and some people have it less. Some people have it when they're pregnant and some people have it when they're travel sick. And then some people have chronic illness, which means that they have nausea all the time. And some people have it when they have chemotherapy or some strong drug treatment. So what can gua sha do? Let's have a look. So as ever, I'm in my forest, and the reason I'm always in my forest, remember, is that this is ecology in motion. This is what the ancient Chinese were talking about when they were first describing Chinese medicine, and it kind of got lost on the way. But not to worry, here I am. So this area here is full of wild asparagus, which is something that is great to pick between now and the summer. And I'm going to keep my eye out for the distinctive shape of wild asparagus, and if I see some, I'll pick it, and then we're going to have it for tapas tonight with a good Catalan wine. So I've been treating nausea for well on 20 years, and it's usually not that difficult to get rid of relative to lots of other problems that you need to get rid of on the body, but it often depends on why it's there. So let's explain a little bit about why that nausea might be there. So when you actually eat something, it goes into your mouth, comes down into your stomach, and that is when the process begins of fermentation. Now, lots of people think the image of the stomach in Chinese medicine is a boiling pot with fire underneath, when a more accurate one is actually a fermentation pot. Now, my mother-in-law has a wonderful pot which she fills up every year. She chops up various vegetables and she puts them in this giant pot, and I have no idea what she does exactly, but puts in a lot of salt and various other things. So this giant porcelain pot then has a lid placed on it, and it's put somewhere really cool out the way. And I don't know if they're still there actually, but there used to be a kind of trap door in the kitchen. You used to stick it under there, but I can't remember if she does that now. But that stays there for years, and it's the fermentation of pickles. And then whenever we need some pickles, she goes into that big jar and picks them out, and of course they taste fantastic. And that's essentially what the stomach is doing. It's a big fermentation pot, like my mother-in-law's. And to help in this fermentation that happens in your stomach, now the stomach has a natural movement of going downwards. So I'm always talking about directions in treatment of gua sha. And so the direction of the stomach is downwards, and that's the reason, is because it's got to push everything down towards the intestines, towards the process of digestion. If it's going upwards, then that's the wrong direction, isn't it? And so guess what happens when you have nausea? It's coming up. It should be going down, but it's not. It's actually coming up, and that's the problem. Now, the reasons it's coming up, there's something going on in the stomach which is preventing this upwards movement. Now, the cause of that might be something in the stomach, it might be something somewhere else which is affecting the stomach, but that's essentially what's happening. And so, you know, when you're traveling, for example, the motion of whatever transport you're using, and I've had this a lot, is going to cause that disturbance in the movement going down of your stomach. And then the stomach, instead of going downwards, is actually coming up, and then you know it for sure, don't you? because that's when stuff happens, when your mouth goes dry, and you have that distinctive feeling where you know, oh, here it comes. I'm an expert at that kind of nausea, and if you've seen any videos, or if you've read my books or heard my podcast, I talk about when I was a flying fish fisherman in the East China Sea, and I was part of a Japanese crew, and I threw up so many times in the East China Sea. The very first time I went out, which was 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was freezing cold, so I had loads of clothes on and welly boots, and I had waterproof stuff, and the other people, when I arrived, they all had just t-shirts and light clothing. So after we'd done the first catch, and then I did remember distinctly the very first time was when the fish all came in, and what you've got to do is you've got to get all those fish into the boxes and then put ice on them and then put them in the hold. And so I remember distinctly when you're putting all of the fish in the different boxes, and then I remember just hitting, boom, it hit me, and then it just did not leave for the next 5 hours until we actually went back to port. And I just couldn't participate in anything. I just sat at the back of the boat, which is the worst place to be, and just threw up and then threw up and threw up and just kept throwing up non-stop. Now the worst one, of course, is the typhoon waves, the waves that come before a typhoon. They're the worst for nausea. And I remember even the old hands on the ship who'd been doing it for many years, they threw up when we had typhoon waves. But anyway, so that's my experience with nausea. I got lots of experience, and I used to treat myself on the boat at the time. I used to have needles stuck in various places, and little micro needles. I used to stick them in my ear, on my wrist, on my chest, and some of the places I'm going to show you, it wasn't too easy to do washer, so I used little needles. So you've got this movement which is coming out when it should be coming down. And so how do you treat it with gua sha? So I've got my magic tool, which is, I call it a magic tool because it's it looks like it's jade, but it's not, it's actually a spoon. Whenever I go out, I always just pick up my spoons. So if you don't like spoons, I apologize. Next time I'm going to get some nice jade, but I got the spoon. So let's start off with a very useful area, first of all, and that's right there. Halfway in between your lips and your chin is a point. It's Ren 24, and I talk about it in facial gua sha. And always remember, when you're doing facial gua sha, it's actually a medical technique which is being used as a beauty technique. And so when you're doing various points, for example, Ren 24, which is right there, it's actually something that will affect the body and not just the face, which is why it's so good to understand the relationship between your face and your body. So this point right here is a great one to push and circle. So if I do it for you, push and circle. I'm going to come over here a bit there. I'm a bit in the corner over there, I don't know why. Okay, I'm coming in the center of the screen. Yes, here we are. Okay. So it's right there, and circle, and but push quite hard. Now on my spoon, this is the reason I like spoons, is because I can turn it around that way, and it doesn't hurt at all because there's no hard edge. It's completely soft. So you can use that with the side of a tool as well. So push and circle. So the next one, obviously, and I'm not going to touch this mic here because I had to lose a lot of material last time because I kept touching the mic, which the mic is right there. And so I'm going to do this kind of virtually in front of me so I don't actually touch this microphone. So come down your neck with your finger and then come to the top of the sternum. This is the point which is a Ren 22. And then scrape down the sternum. So the whole of the sternum from the rib side to the other rib side, and scrape downwards as far as you can. Now you can do this over clothes, so that's all right, or you can do it directly on the skin. But if you use it directly on the skin, remember to put some lubrication there. And this is an area that would often have Sha, so remember that. If you're going to reveal this area later on, then remember it before you do the treatment, remember that Sha might come in this area, and maybe you don't want it to be in the wedding photographs, the wedding you're going to at the weekend, or something like that. So another area which it comes up a lot in videos because it's so useful, and that's the area of, there it is. That's the area of a pericardium 6 or heart ruler 6. I call it heart ruler. So it's heart ruler 6. And that's in between the two tendons at your wrist, and is about 3 finger widths away from the wrist crease. Now that area is connected with the function of your stomach, and also very much connected with this movement going downwards. And I think I mentioned it before if you watch another video. In fact, if you watch the video which is about the microsystems on the bones, and I'll put a link up there, so if you click on that you can watch that. Now that will explain why this area called pericardium 6 or heart ruler 6 will affect your stomach, because it makes total logical sense. Things are not just invented, they all have a meaning to it, and if you don't know it, it doesn't mean that it doesn't. So push and circle and scrape in that area. Scrape towards your wrist, that direction. Now another solution for nausea is to treat your hand, so treat in the middle of the hand. So I'll show you there. So treat in that middle area. Why? Because that is the digestion area of your hand. And again, this is explained in my microsystem, guasha, in that there are certain areas on your body which are related to other larger areas. So another area that you can do is the mid-back, and this is a bit tricky if you do it yourself, because if I just try that right now, it's okay, I can reach it, but I can't really put any force. So if you have someone around you who is willing to use a tool and scrape on your back, then your mid-back, go downwards either side of the spine, that whole area, not just close to the spine, and you can sit down doing it. You don't need to lie down, and you can do it over clothes. And another area is at the bottom of your feet. Now again, this is it depends if you have access to the bottom of your feet. It depends where you are, what situation you're at. But basically the middle section of the bottom of your feet, scrape downwards from the toe end towards the heel end, but you're scraping the middle section. And that's basically the digestive area. So remember, scrape downwards. So if you put all of these different areas together and do them, then there's a good chance that you can help the nausea. And spend a few minutes at each area, but don't spend too long, because if you spend too long, then it's going to really hurt and you can bruise yourself. And so just a couple of minutes in each area, and do it for 10 seconds, then take a break for 10 seconds, and then do it for 10 seconds, and then come back and do it like that, instead of a constant extreme movement. If you have nausea, try this technique and let me know in the comments what happens.